because my guest is none other than Aether Candace, a Gemini with enough wisdom and intuition to make the stars take notes. Aether is an intuitive performance coach, author, poet, and metaphysical guide who helps people heal, transform, and unlock their hidden gifts. But what roles does luck play in all of this? Are lucky charms real, or is it all about aligning with the right energy? We are diving deep into rituals, intuition, metaphysical tools, and the unseen forces that shape our lives. From the pages of her book to the poetry of existence, Aether brings a perspective that's as insightful as is soul-stirring. So grab your rabbit's foot, tarot deck, or just your open mind, and let's step into the realm of luck, healing, and self-discovery. This is episode 201, Lucky Charms. Let's be.
I am Aether Candace. I am a spiritualist and intuitive performance coach, and I work with people to help them through their healing, but also to ascend and achieve the goals that they want to achieve.
That's great. Where can our listeners find you online?
You can find me on aethercandace.com. So it's just spelled the same way it is at the bottom. Soul Trine, SOULTRINE. I have a few books on Amazon, so you can find me there. One is for Aether Candace, and the other one is Candace D. Henry. That was my first married name.
So let's start. Our theme is lucky charms. I must confess, just the only lucky charm I have is the number 28. Because I was born in September 28. So to me, the number is a lucky charm. 28 is a lucky day for me.
Okay, I love it.
Aether, your work as an intuitive performance coach involves helping people heal and transform their lives. Can you share any personal lucky charms or rituals that you believe brought you success or guided your journey?
Yes. Well, my lucky charm number is 11. I love to see an 11, even if it's 5 and a 6 together. I still look at it as 11. That's my life path number. And I have it tattooed on me. And there's so many things. It's such a vast question, but so many things that I consider lucky charms. There's people who have impacted me, that helped me adjust in different various rituals. Some of the things that I would say, help on a regular everyday basis is just general grounding, being able to connect to earth, and just finding ways to do that in a efficient way. Like I used to do this meditation. It's like 7-minute meditation before I do something that makes me nervous or when I'm stressed out. But recently I've learned a new method that is about 30 seconds long. It like really helps. So essentially it's just like standing, but you just squat down a little bit, swing your arms to just kind of get the vibe and the flow, and then you're just gonna do a jump. And then when you jump, you release. And I have my clients do it because a lot of times people come see me and it's their very first time seeing me, so they're nervous, or their very first time having a reading or doing Reiki, and they're nervous. So I usually say have them do that just to kind of like get the butterflies out of their system. And like I make sure everybody just goes like a deep air push out of their body. So that's how I know you're doing it right. Yeah. And I learned that from some massage therapists. Yeah. So that's probably one of the most basic rituals that I do. I have some that are way more complex, but this is something that everybody can do without feeling too strange. A lot of people love the idea of spirituality and like metaphysics, but it's just kind of hard for them to connect in that way. They're scared. It's a lot of fear.
Talking about metaphysics, let's talk about metaphysical tools. You use various metaphysical tools and techniques in your coaching. Are there any particular tools or practice that you consider your lucky charm that for bringing clarity, healing to your clients, besides the ones you said in the last question?
I kind of do it on a client by client basis. So the main things that I tell people to do to kind of like improve their luck is just a basic cleaning that everybody should do. So unfortunately, everybody doesn't live near the ocean. So if I were somewhere near the ocean, I would say go get in the water, get in the ocean with the afternoon sun is hitting the water, and get in there, and that'll help like knock a lot of stuff off of your body, a lot of bad energies, a lot of things that are just had bad intentions. So that's a good way to improve the luck. But because most people don't live near the ocean, especially where I am now, tell them to go and have a salt bath and put specific herbs in their bath. So bare basic one, get some sea salt, put it in the water. Make sure you have everything off of your body and get in there and make sure every part of you is covered. So the hair, with the ladies, I know they may not feel good about doing whatever with their hair, but I'm like, nope, the hair has to get in there head to toe and do that now. If they're having a really hard time, then I will tell them to add some specific herbs to it. So some herbs are more intense than others, but I'll just be like, this is your list of stuff you need to get. Get it on Amazon, get it at their local herb store, and put that in the bathtub to protect your sink so that you're not, clogging up your drain with or protect your tub. But those are some things that I tell people. But what I tell them specifically, like if I go any further, depends on what their issue is.
That's really interesting. When you told about ocean, I remember when I was a child, I used to go to the beach a lot with my family. I particularly don't enjoy going to the beach, but I remember when I returned home, I felt so relaxed.
Yeah, it's nature is medicine. So with that, we have to do what we have to do to kind of like make sure everything clears out and processes and gets off of us. Laying in the sun has some benefit as well. A lot of people can't get access to that because it's just cloudy, or it's cold. So there's other things that can be done. There's different types of smoke that you can like walk through or, run across of you. That's what I tell people from a defensive perspective. Like, okay, there's something there. This is how you get away from it. Something holding you back. I like incense to incense my house, but I must confess it's must because of the smell. I like some kinds of incense. The ones I'm using now, Palo Santo and cinnamon, lemon. Mhm. Yeah, Palo Santo is like it's so good, so good. I was always taught that Palo Santo brings in the good spirits. So spirits that are in your favor, that are here to help you. It's great with Palo Santo. Cinnamon is really good for like prosperity and things like that. So yeah, drinking cinnamon water, even if you have a cinnamon oil, rub it on your hands, like different things like that are very helpful for like everyday life. Well, I think I'll do this before recording my episodes. Yeah. Yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to different things that you can do that are beneficial to you. Like, and nobody really has to know. Like, you could rub the cinnamon on your hands. You could light candles. It doesn't have to look like you're having some kind having some ritual. Some of these things are like kind of everyday. I think I wrote an article on the blog about ways that you could decorate your house to pull in that energy without people thinking that you're like a witch, like I don't mind that title, but a lot of people are scared of that title. And so they do want to participate, they do want to do what they need to do, but at the same time they don't want to be looked at in that way. And so I help people do things like that, like blend in, like what incenses are you putting on your skin? Frankincense is myrrh is something that I love to put on my skin. But a lot of people don't know frankincense is really good for anti-aging. Every morning I put sweet almond oil with some drops of frankincense in it. And I do it for protection, right? And spiritual connection to the divine, but also it has anti-aging properties. Myrrh, the same thing. Myrrh is a healer. Myrrh heals skin issues. When I had my third baby, I made a myrrh solution so that I wouldn't tear when I was giving birth. And I didn't tear. So these are things they have a spiritual capacity, but they also have like a physiological, like medical capacity as well. And so if you know what you're doing, you can kind of like you can do all the rituals you want to do and you just look like a regular person. You can become your own lucky charm and nobody's gonna know. Like you're not gonna have to, not have to do anything that makes people alarmed. I've done it for years. Like I worked at a regular job for a long time. And a lot of people had no idea I was practicing.
Well, I love it. The ideas and the hints. I have some frankincense my sister gave me. Well, I'll try to do something to become my lucky charm. I like it. Well, let's talk about personal collections of poetry. I love poetry. On this podcast, it started with a poem 10 years ago. Poetry is really a dearest thing to me, let's say, about it. Your poetry collections are deeply personal. Can you share a poem or excerpt that you consider a lucky charm for those going through difficult times, offering them hope and resilience? If you can say just the title.
I don't really think my poems offer, I think they offer more hope, more connection than hope. I think they give people more of an opportunity to understand that they're not alone in their feelings, because a lot of the feelings that come out in my poems are very like edgy. They're kind of the things that a lot of people don't want to say out loud. Like they feel like that, but they don't want to say them out loud. And so I don't think it's more like, hey, things will get better. It's more like you're not, you're not crazy, you're not alone, you have value. You know what I mean? Like,
While you look.
let's see. I'm looking at some of these titles and I'm like, what? I mean, because the thing is, when I wrote these books, I was really going through a lot of heavy stuff. Like it was me. These poems kind of reflect what I was experiencing while in an abusive relationship. So people have told me that I have helped them leave their abusive relationships. By reading my poetry, it gave them an inspiration to do it. But it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people to kind of face those feelings, because a lot of the things that people go through are just too difficult. Like they're just crazy. And I want to be, the person to help them with that first stage of healing, which is acknowledgement, like acknowledging that something was a problem, or that, acknowledging that something just wasn't okay, and you're valid in your feelings. A lot of times when people go through stuff, it's just like there's always somebody trying to tell you to like, oh, it's not that bad, or oh, it'll be okay, don't worry about it, and they just kind of play it down. But in the real life, you're inside, you're hurting. You're hurting bad. And it's just like, if somebody could just hear me and hear and see what I'm going through and not invalidate my experience. So here's one I'll read. It's called Prescription. And it's definitely not hopeful, but it's more like, I don't know, I can't describe it, but it's a relationship poem, a breakup poem. Yeah. So it says, bitter pill or sweet syrup, I was your medicine. Through distance, the sound of my voice and the waft of my words reined in your pain. You can't hear me now. Near, I've wrapped my arms and legs around you and covered you from head to toe in my energy, healing your pain, clearing the way for peace in your heart, letting your thoughts flow free. You can't feel me now. I can still see your smile, the way you looked at me after a long day, the hunger in your eyes when you craved me and only me. You were my medicine. Somebody forgot to put the top on our bottles. We spoiled. What healed now hurts. Maybe the formula changed, because I saw you trying and could not feel anything, but how you made me vomit tears for hours, then weeks, and eventually years. I couldn't see you clearly. My face didn't come equipped with windshield wipers. I hurt you. I know. My legacy left you with many options to heal. I'm just not one of them. I am not your medicine. That's it.
And I like when you say it brings connection instead of hope, because I don't know, nowadays some positivity, there is some toxic positivity. They just say, get over it. But sometimes we need to cry, to give a break to our heart before moving on.
Yes, exactly that. It's a process, and I feel like the toxic positivity people, and people say love and light and good vibes only, like it's all bad, because we are not, we are multidimensional beings. We have many facets to ourselves. We have all emotions. Excuse me. We have anger, we have sadness, and they are just as valid as being happy and feeling joy, because we are multidimensional beings. So the moment that we decide to like cancel those feelings, we're being fake. We're not accessing our full abilities. And when you lose the ability to feel anger and sadness and even grief, that's when things get weird. and people just kind of become kind of lopsided. And a lot of times they're going to crash and burn because it's like if you're only operating in happy, joy, happy, joy, happy, joy, those other feelings, because you're ignoring them, doesn't mean they're not there. They're still there, but eventually they're going to take over, and people have breakdowns or people act out. More often than not, I think people act out on other people, and they don't look at themselves clearly in the mirror.
I completely agree with you. I think instead of giving generic message, we must. It's also an exercise of empathy. You put yourself on other people's shoes.
That and having empathy for oneself. You know, a lot of people don't want to allow themselves to feel anything negative because they don't allow themselves to feel for themselves, which is toxic for them and everyone around them.
Okay, let's keep talking about writing. I told you my poems, they are a little bit more introspective. In my case, is just to sometimes bring some feelings, some hidden feelings to the surface. It's more a diary confession. Then I returned blogging last year with the name of the blog is Curious Bird, and I explain why. Rice means happy cake delight. It's not about food, but well, it's about the space of the kitchen. The kitchen space for me is somewhere I use it to reunite with my family, and all the parties we had at home, they always started and finished in the kitchen. It was curious, and we talked about everything. And this blog is to bring, is the same goal of my poems, bring some hidden feelings and experiences to the surface to share with my readers and many people like. I'm really grateful with the results.
Awesome. That's beautiful.
Let's continue to talk about writing then. Your books, you wrote 2 books, Everything But a Smile and Trials and Tribulations of a Healing Heart, have helped many process their emotions. How do you believe your writing serves as a luck charm for readers seeking healing and understanding?
I think it just helps people understand that they're not okay. Being okay with being not okay. I think that's the first step to healing, is like accessing. I mean, if you can acknowledge that there's a problem, then you can move forward with the healing. But what are you healing if you don't acknowledge that there's a problem? So the purpose, I mean, the lucky charm for me, for people, is like being that person that says it's okay to not be okay.
Great. Well, I never heard it. And now I'm really reflective. Being okay is not okay. That's true. I think it's we tell others the most that everything's okay.
Right.
We always say, I'm fine, I'm okay. And sometimes nothing is fine, nothing is okay. But we are there, and some people notice. I remember when I thought someone I like just left me, I cried for all afternoon, but I needed to go to my Pilates class, and there was a colleague, a lady who saw me and asked me, is everything okay with you? And I told her, everything's fine. And she told me, nothing's fine with you. You are always smiling. And today you are sad. I'm looking at your face and you look sad.
Yeah.
What's going on with you? But I didn't have courage to tell what's happening in my life. But when you say, it's okay, everything's okay, make sure nothing is fine in our lives.
Right.
And I would say, I like the title of your book, Everything But a Smile.
Yeah, that was a lot of that book. Like some of the book was about society, like things that we experience in society that are absolutely insane. I understand in Brazil, for what I gather, you guys deal with like racial issues as well. So about a quarter of the book was dedicated to things like that. But a lot of the book was about the relationship I had with my first husband. And what's so crazy is he designed the cover of the book. Yeah, he's really talented creatively, but he just didn't have a good relationship at all. It seemed good, but once as I mature and I heal more, I realize how damaged I was as a person to even be there to tolerate a lot of that stuff. I feel like my writing helped. It always helps. I've always been writing since I was a young age, but just kind of getting that information out, that the writing's out. There's still a lot of stuff I haven't even published, but sometimes it feels good to take this information and take it outside of my head and put it somewhere else, especially when it's times where you feel like nobody understands you, nobody can hear you. And for me in that relationship, he had a big image for himself. He liked to maintain a specific image. And that's what everything was about, his image, what he wanted people to think of him. And it wasn't real. And it was really sad. He created a false reality, and I allowed myself to just be a part of that false reality. And then people had no idea that I was suffering because I was so afraid of people knowing, not just for him, but for me. Like, I'm in the healing space and I'm literally being abused every day by someone. So how does that look for me? If I'm a healer, I'm helping people. Like, there's days where I remember one day I was telling him I was trying to leave. It was always about leaving. That's the main reason why I would be physically abused. So there was abuses going on, but whenever I would try to leave him, that's when he would get physically violent. And so one day he had like beat me up because I was trying to leave, and we were in the middle of fighting, arguing, and him hitting me or whatever. And then somebody called. It was a friend of mine who was trying to escape, or really more friend of his. She was trying to escape her boyfriend, her kid's father, because he was beating her. She wanted a safe place to be. Isn't it crazy that I helped her? I helped her.
Wow, it's really impressive. It's
I helped
great.
her too, knowing that he did that to me. Isn't that crazy? That's what I find like fascinating about it, is like I always have the capacity to help others, but maybe not myself. And that's something I've been working on for years, is having the capacity for myself.
Well, I'm sorry for your situation, but well, I think when we are artists, it happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's when I have clients who come in here and they are experiencing similar situations. Clients have great relationships. I have clients who are having issues, but I always tell them you have to release that information somehow, some way. You have to paint, write, run, do something to kind of not let that stay trapped inside of you. Because the issue is like things that are not released can manifest into our bodies as illnesses and things like that. And we don't need that. So that's another part of like why I kind of am taking this direction from the healing space, is like too many people coming to see me for readings who, when they're done with the reading, you can tell their body is agitated. You can tell their whole being is just twisted. So I'm like, I started doing something called crystal aura therapy, like back in like 2015. And it's helpful, but a lot of people didn't know what that was. And they didn't know what it was because they're used to hearing about Reiki. So eventually I picked up Reiki to help people who are understanding of Reiki, because it's easier to explain than crystal aura therapy. Now I still do both, but there's a disconnect between like either readings or like cognitive therapy, and then like when people are done, they just walk out just like they're in fight or flight mode, they're upset, they're crying. It's like, okay, how can we help people clear this away? So I can either give people assignments, which is 50-50 chance that they're going to do it or not, which is right. I'll send them like links to black paper notebooks. Black paper notebooks are good because it's for people who want to write something that they may not want to see again. So you have black paper and you write in black ink. That way you can get it out. You may not want to see the words again. You may not want to experience it again. Fine. Black paper notebook. I will send people links to oil pastels and things like that. So it doesn't have to be like a Reiki service with me or energy healing service with me, but it could be something that could help you release and let things out.
Well, it's really another precious advice. And I would continue on this theme of healing intuition. I don't know if you heard a lot about feminine intuition, but since my last birthday, I was feeling tired and stressed every day. I think my body was screaming, you must calm down and do things softly. And I read a book about the law feminine energy. And I was thinking, I think I have it, low feminine energy. And since then, I started doing things to feel more feminine, my female power. And one of them was the intuition. Meditate, do a prayer, journaling, something to exercise my intuition. And it's really good. I think since I decided to try to be less competitive and be soft, so exercise my softer side. I feel something more, I feel calm. I don't know how to explain, but I don't feel too stressed anymore. I don't feel that pain. I had a pain here. People who are listening, they don't know where I had the pain, but between my neck and my shoulders, I was feeling so much pain in this region. And after exercising my softer side, the pain disappeared. It's impressive. The intuition
That's good.
is
That's
powerful.
beautiful. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I started massage therapy school was because I was seeing a lot of that in people. Here, back, hips, knees. And yes, Reiki can help, but I'm noticing a pattern and I think I'm coming up with the right solution for it to where not only can I like move energy, but I could physically touch someone to help them relieve multiple levels of concern, the stress, the low feminine energy. A lot of people don't even know how, they don't know how to relax certain parts of their body. They don't know how to breathe, in a manner that allows them to be soft. And it's just the way some of us are raised, whether what we went through or what we saw other women around us going through. And I want to help more people be more connected to their body, to be able to say, this right here is here, which is probably connected to why I feel like this emotionally. Maybe if I relieve this emotionally, then this won't hurt. But how? And that's the thing. And so I want to be the how, help people reconnect, retap, adjust their posture, walk differently to help align them with what they need in life, whether that be more femininity or more masculinity. But the same struggle you have is mine. I've been operating in my masculine energy for a long time. It was like kind of a protection mechanism, like I felt safer, or that's my way of feeling safe. But we were never taught the protection that lies within what is soft. There's protection there. You just have to learn how to use it. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think we are on the same page. And now you said about these sides of the opposite sides of the shoulder. I'm thinking about it, but since just to as I met side of my family, I particularly don't enjoy meeting them because they are very judgmental. We will talk about it later. They are very that conservative side. They want to all members of the family to be one size fits all. I
Yes.
mean, we must be that kind of woman, that kind of that level. If we don't reach the level they want, we are losers. And when I joined the party, I felt heavy energy. And since then, I started feeling this pain. You are talking about it, and I'm thinking, and it sparked my competitive side. I'm not a competitive person. I know it's important to be ambitious and competitive, but my nature is not like this. I like to help people. I like to share my things I know. I'm very curious and creative. I like to share my creations. But I don't want to show in the first place I'm on top. And in a certain way, that side of my family, they spark this side of my dark side, I mean, of
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I feel that. It's like the judgment when they don't understand you in the first place. Like they don't comprehend. It's like they're looking at you through a small hole, like the hole through a door, the looking hole, like in a hotel door. They're looking at you through that. They're not seeing all of you. And It's unfair. It feels horrible.
Absolutely. Well, I would say the next question is about this situation, healing and intuition. You help people heal their relationships with themselves and others. How do you intuitively sense what a person needs, and do you think there is an element of luck in finding the right approach for each individual?
No, I don't think it's luck. I think it's their spiritual team and my spiritual team just kind of like coming through me. As I've gotten older, I've been able to turn things off. When I was younger, everything would come to me at the same time. It would be very overwhelming. Just getting a lot of information about people, about their true intentions, about their future, like all these things happening at one time. And it would make me, I would literally just go get in the bed and cover my head with a pillow. And it wouldn't help anything. But it just made me feel better, like I'm escaping it. But as I've gotten older with more training, I was able to turn things on and off. The only way something will kind of come through when I have it set to off is if it's an emergency, like something to save someone's life, or somebody who has passed on who is just like, look, I have to tell them something. Like, I just can't wait. Like, they need to know this. So it's not luck. It's just more so the energy's coming through. So if I'm like, all right, now I'm ready to hear, to listen, and the person is talking to me, they are expressing their concerns and things like that, I'll get images in my head of what they need. I'll get words that come through that say they need this. Sometimes it's just flashes of images. Sometimes it might be a scene where I'm seeing it. So I'm not like the word healer. Like I say, I help people facilitate their own healing more so. I think I should start writing that more because everybody can heal themselves, but it's just they just don't know. They don't remember that they can. And I'm here to just be like, hey, you can do this. And then their people come through and my people come through and they're like, hey, this is what's going to help them. This is what they should be concerned about. This is the danger. This is the beauty that's coming their way. These are the things that pop up. So it's very much like a divine.
It's beautiful. I'm enjoying a lot this conversation.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So let's talk about the non-judgmental nature. Your accepting and non-judgmental nature makes people feel at home. How do you cultivate this environment? And do you think there is an element of luck? I'm talking a lot about luck because it's the theme.
The luck would be that they found somebody who is not here to judge them. That would be their luck. But what I do is like I've been through a lot in life. I've seen a lot. Like if I haven't been through it, I may have known somebody who's been through it. And that was like something I had to overcome, judgment. I would say prior to like 30 or so, I was a highly judgmental person. I would just always, and it was awful. Sometimes I just cringe when I think about some of the things I used to say about people. But there's just a lot of healing work happened to where I stopped being that person and I started having more acceptance for people, more love, and really just like kind of resting on like, well, hold up, you've been through all of this. There's people you've loved who've been through all of this. Like, why would you judge them? Your judging people ever helped anyone? And that's the thing. Judging people doesn't help anyone. Like it's not beneficial to anyone. Like even like sometimes I just remember feeling sick. I think that's kind of when the healing part just kind of like really kind of took over because I started to feel sick saying certain things. Like, ugh, it just felt gross. But over time, when you can sit and like rest in your own experiences, rest in the experiences of people you love, people you cared about, people who trusted you to listen. And you just think, wow, you look at it from a perspective of like the human experience, the human mind is so vast. And there's so many different variables that create one person's position. You never know why somebody's in a specific position. And that could be in a position of power, the position of sadness, of loss, poverty, of prosperity. And also, you never know. Like, you could be thinking, or just like saying, what, years ago, so many women envied Cassie Ventura, the girl who was with P. Diddy. They wanted her life, even though she, was the second woman to him. There's a lot of women who were like, I would love to have that life. But people judged it positively. Some people did. They judged it positively. So in judging that, not seeing everything clearly. You just see like, oh, that looks nice. Oh my God, that's great. Low key, this chick was suffering. And so now people are pulling up videos of him looking at her crazy or him treating her bad or stories that people talked about, but people missed because they're seeing this as a singer and she's got this wonderful life and da 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 da. And then when she left, it was just everybody's like, well, good for her. Now she can, be whatever she wants to be. And then she ended up getting married and having a kid and having a beautiful life. But even still, her truth came forward. It circled back. And so now people are like, even realizing that just because it looks good doesn't mean it's good. The positive judgments are a thing too. Reality is we just don't know. You don't know what people are going through. And even if they tell you, a lot of times, will they tell you the whole truth? Maybe not, because they don't trust you. So it's just, at the end of the day, it's just understanding that we don't know. And I think that's one of the most powerful words or phrases that people can say is, I don't know. I just don't know. Like when you can admit that you don't know something instead of coming to a judgment, it's a powerful place to be in, because once you can move that out of the way, information will come to you.
I'm thinking about a metaphor by hearing your words. So like when you take a picture of someone to judge someone, it's like take a picture and think about that person's life based on the picture you took.
And like with these celebrities across the board, we see pictures, we see doctored versions of what they want to see. And even with everybody else, you're not seeing stuff like the people that you work with every day. Somebody could be saying, oh, her hair is ugly, or I hate that she has an attitude, or I'll tell you a real life story from yesterday. There's a lady who says she's a teacher. She had an event for my daughter's school for classmates. And I really couldn't go, but we asked that if she could, my daughter could be dropped off. And so I dropped her off, but I couldn't just drop her off and leave. I wanted to check out the whole place and connect with other parents that I knew, see if it was okay for her to be there, that they keep an eye on her. Here's my phone number. And I didn't see the teacher yet. So when I saw the teacher, she kind of had an attitude. My daughter wasn't the only one that got dropped off. There's other kids. But I know she knows my family. And so she was just like, aren't you supposed to be gone? Like, it was just like weird. But I couldn't judge her based on how she treated me. I couldn't even get mad at her. You know why? Because I know her life. I don't know her whole life, but I know enough information to know that lady's going through some shit. And like how she's acting with me right now, if it was somebody else, I probably would have had something to be like, is there a problem? Like I wouldn't even be like mad. It's more like, is there a problem? I don't have to ask if there's a problem because I know some things about her life that are very sad. And also, there's a Mars conjunction, very fiery, and it has a lot to do with conflict. And I'm not having it with anybody. So I was just like, have a good day. Because I don't know her whole life, but I know enough to know that I'm not going to judge her as a character based on her having some weird stuff to say yesterday. And that's that. Like the judgment thing happens on so many levels. Was it disrespectful? It was rude, more so than disrespectful. But it's kind of one of those choose your battles things. Like she's a nice person, she's a great teacher. Did she say something out of line that's out of character? Yes. Was it hurting my feelings? No, because I have compassion for her and her situation. And it's the end of the school year.
That's right. We can't judge people just because found them in a terrible day.
Yeah, like if I look at her as a whole, she's amazing. She's absolutely amazing to my child. She's been amazing. Like I didn't realize she knew my family as much as she knows my family. Like she's best friends with my first cousin. I didn't know. It was crazy. We just happened to talk one day and I was like, what? But yeah, you just never know. And everything doesn't need to
Great.
air, meaning you don't have to touch it.
Yeah,
You don't have to touch it.
I would say air is my zodiac element.
What are you?
I'm a Libra.
I'm a Gemini and I'm an air too.
Oh, see, that's why I like to talk to you. Meeting air. So let's talk about bringing gifts to the surface.
Yeah.
You assist people bringing some gifts to the surface. But what strategies do you use to help individuals discover their unique talents? And have there been any moments where you felt especially lucky to witness a client's breakthrough?
Yes. So the first step is I have a reading where I can look at your natal chart and I can see indicators of you having specific gifts. So a lot of spiritualists do not agree with me, but I feel like most people are gifted. The issue is a lot of people's gifts are covered. They're just buried. When a lot of little kids can see things, they can see ghosts, they can see this and that, but a lot of them won't speak on it. Because if you're not a family that talks about it on a regular basis, they're going to think they're crazy. And so these gifts, or they watch shows where seeing ghosts and seeing things like this is looked at as a bad thing. Ghost hunting and, they're witches are bad. All these different things are in telling children that these things are bad. So over time, if they don't have anyone around them that can speak to them about these things, they'll just kind of fade away. Unless that gift is just prominent, right? So for me, it was no one was in my house talking about these things, but they're prominent. I have psychics on both sides of my family. It's just what's supposed to happen. But does that mean that my brother has gifts? He does, but he's not using them the way I do. There's a lot of gifted people, but same thing. Who's going to take up the torch and say, I'm going to study this. I'm going to go deep into it. Well, that's me. There are people who want to have gifts, they just don't know how to access them. So with these points, I can say, all right, you're more of a clairvoyant person, you're more of an intuitive person, you're more of a psychic person, and not saying that, you can't, if I say this, I'm showing you where these indicators are, that you can't do something else. It's just saying like this is what's easiest for you to access. Access those. These are the things that you're naturally born with, and let's practice what you can do from there. Like what exercises can you do? A lot of they might end up with something just turned on. So I've known of people who were like 40 years old and didn't have access to any of it, and all of a sudden a light switch happened. And they're seeing things and they're hearing things, and it's like crazy. They think they're going crazy. Other people think they're going crazy. But they may not be going crazy. They just may be using more of their human potential. And so that's the basis of everything. It's like, can you get in front of this? Do you want this to happen to you randomly, or do you want to get in front of it and start practicing it so that you can have more control over the situation? And that's the main thing. There's just so much control you can have in real life, but in reality, it's like at least lay the groundwork. At least start to be able to feel, you know. And know when to let go, know when to, like I was just saying earlier, how like so much stuff was coming in on me at one time. I was feeling overwhelmed. That's a skill that has to be learned, like how to turn it off, how to say not right now, how to make it so that negative entities cannot come into your space. We figure out how to do it.
Let's start.
We figure out where to start, and then from there I create like a custom exercises for you to do to kind of pull that stuff forward. Another factor in it that a lot of people feel weird about is the healing aspect. Like, are you carrying around a lot of stuff? A lot of times the stuff that you're carrying around on you, the negativity that is there and hasn't been acknowledged, is in your way because you're pretending like it's all love and light, love and light. And then you got all this stuff on each shoulder on your back and you're trying to walk around with it and you're wondering why things aren't happening. Well, because you're heavy. You got to move this stuff out the way to make space for you to receive. So if you're not able to see the full spectrum of your gifts, you're not able to your anger, how your sadness, how all these different things play a role in the whole human experience. How are you going to be able to feel properly? And so it's a level of training that has to go on, a level of acknowledgement. And it's like a repeating process. Healing, acknowledgement, healing, acknowledgement, healing, acknowledgement. And that's the thing. How do we get into it? Process.
Oh, it's now I'm remembering the time I made my first move towards the professional transition. I'm not a graphic designer and illustrator is not my first career, it's my second one. I was supposed to be a lawyer, but I was feeling fish out of water in a certain time and started missing to exercise my creative side. I like to create stuff. You can see my background, all my drawings, all things I do. I'm really happy when I create something, when I bring something new and fresh from the ideas of other people or from my own ideas. And the first move I made was with a singing teacher. She was also my mentor, and she talked a lot about this process of healing and acknowledgement. If we know more our body and how it works, we will know how to deal with some problems that are happening to our bodies. In her case, she was talking about singing, our singing, how we can sing better. But I think it applies to all areas of our life. Self-knowledgement is important. It really matters. Since I learned this lesson, I think, well, I can reach higher levels of creativity, and I don't know, I don't feel scared with some reactions. I know how to deal with some small problems. Of course, there are bigger problems. I will need external help, but the smallest ones, everything is better than before. I don't say everything's okay based on what we talked, but everything seems better than before. So you are also a podcaster just like me. So you likely hear many stories of transformation on your podcast, I guess.
Yeah, well, actually, I have two. One of them I've been recording shows for. I just haven't released them yet. The other one that you can see is called Business Layer, IR, and it's about spiritualists who are in business and like what motivates them, what they do, how they help people, and how they handle the business side of things.
Are there any particular story that you consider inspiring for both you and your listeners?
From my guests on the show?
Yeah, but well, if I don't know about you, but in my case, every episode so special, it's really hard to choose one.
It is hard to choose one, especially because they're spiritualists. My thing was to connect like the relationship money has with your spirituality. Not saying like that one spiritualism is better than the other, but like everyone's approach to their spirituality. Like, what is it that this person is doing that's keeping their business going well? What is their mindset? How are they serving people? Also, in that way, I think that they're all amazing because they're very passionate people. I think that's the main thing that's across the board. Everybody's very passionate about what they do for people, passionate about the direction of their clients. They're passionate about services they offer, and they're silos, meaning like they have their own format. They have their own way that they do things. They're not necessarily, there are some people who kind of lean on a modality. So they'll be like, hey, I do this. So say it's Reiki, for example. They say, I do Reiki. And that's the personality of their business. But that's not really what people are buying into because Reiki's everywhere. Like you can get Reiki anywhere. You can get Reiki training anywhere. But what people are buying into is you. So what is it about these people that makes it so that those people feel inspired to start healing, inspired to heal with them? Because it might not even be like, hey, I'm inspired to heal. It may be more along the lines, I mean, it might be like, hey, I want to work with that person, but you know what? That person motivated me to get up and get started. Same thing with like people in the fitness arena. There's something that sparked with somebody that made them decide they wanted to do push-ups today, you know? So in the spiritual world, it's more like, you know, you motivated somebody to want to meditate more, to want to be more cautious about their protection, be more cautious about the people in their circle, be more intentional in the way that they move. Like how I was talking about what I said earlier about, you know, you don't have to be a person wearing a witch hat. You don't have to be a person carrying a broom. You can literally dress and decorate and bathe with intention. And these things can take you a long way without people having to see what you're about. So motivating people to make changes, that's the thing. And that's what all these people do. They motivate people to make change in their life. So that's why I think it's fascinating, but also like motivating people to make changes in your own way. You know what I'm saying? Like they have their own recipe for how they do things. And even with Soultron, my company, there are two other people who read. But these people have completely different spiritual paths than I do. They do things very different from the way I do them. it's wild how different we are on a spiritual level. But a lot of things just kind of come together. A lot of things are
Yeah.
there, they overlap, and we all agree on a lot of things. And we all have differences on a lot, and it's okay. It's safe for everybody to just be like, hey, I don't agree with that, or hey, I like that, or whatever, however they feel. So with regard to what's inspiring, it's everybody and their uniqueness. Even though, you might come across, if you get your For You page or your feed going one way, you'll have a bunch of people saying the same thing about meditation, self-love, motivation, knowing your worth, spirituality, right? Everybody's going to end up saying the same thing, but it's coming at you different, and everybody's going to resonate differently. So there's two women that really stand out to me, how their level of passion is so high. Their dedication is so huge. But with their dedication, their motivation are signatures. It's like a signature difference between the two of them. But you can't take that, the level of passion, you can't take that away. But it's like paintings in my head. That's kind of how I think of things. I love business. I worked in corporate America for a long time in sales and marketing. So I love business. I love seeing people. I love entrepreneurship stories. I love working with people from a spiritual perspective on a business level. I think it's a beautiful thing for someone to be able to live off of their passion. If it's arts, if it's poetry, if it's spirituality, if it's just educating people on your knowledge, if you just want to tell people your truth for free. You'd be amazed at how many people are out there just sending out data, sending out information for free every day on Twitter, on TikTok. And what comes back to them is more client, more money, more donation. So I just think it's funny how all this works, the circle, the cycle, how it all rotates, the flow of energy. So that's pretty much why I do it, but that's pretty much, I can't pick out one particular person, but I just find the art of it all fascinating. The art of money. Yeah. How it's like, motivating people, helping people, whether you're charging for it or not, a lot of times ends up coming back to people in a positive way.
Well, I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship. That's why I'm here. Actually, this podcast, it doesn't start as a business. It started as a place to show my art.
Yeah.
And it was growing and transforming into a business. Nowadays, I can say it's part of my business, not the whole part of it, but really grateful to see people interested in being my guests. I must say, I had to write some guest rules. Now I'm revealing some details from backstage because the list of future guests is huge, and I'm really happy for it. I had no idea when I recorded the first episode, a 3-minute poem, that I would reach many parts of the planet Earth. I had no idea I would reach more than 30,000 people uh, in in 2 seasons. I wouldn't imagine this.
It's beautiful.
It's grateful. A metamorphosis. I don't know if I'm a butterfly yet, but I'm on the way.
You are definitely on the way. And I love the way that you display your art like right behind you. I think that's very fascinating. And then on top of that, your style, you have a very unique and beautiful style. And I think that's really cool. Something that people should pay attention to.
Thank you very much. I started with manga, as many people from my generation, but I mixed it with many things I love. I love lettering, I love graffiti, and it started mixing in my head. And here is my style. It's hard to explain, but even my art teacher and a good friend, he told me, when I see your art, I see you. It's really good to hear this.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And also, it's encouraging for a lot of people as well to get started on their art.
We are in the last 5 questions. And
Okay.
they are quick. The first one is, What are 3 unique skills that helped you become successful?
Ambition. I don't know if it's more of a skill or a quality. Just keeping going. I've had so many different things that almost took me out, and it's just ambition,
Okay.
following my path, following my purpose, and then having the abilities that I have with regard to like the psychic realm, and also having a level of business sense. I think having an innovation is a big deal. Because I think that's a skill in itself. There's so many people who are comfortable with being complacent that they just don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to find something new. They just like to be stuck. So I think that's the main thing, is just having the skill of innovation, having the psychic abilities, but also the ambition.
It's all that matters for entrepreneurs, I think. The next question. Sorry. When you were still a kid, what did you hope you would grow up to become?
Many things. I never really settled on one thing until I got to about like 7th, 8th grade. I knew I wanted to be a psychologist, actually. I wanted to help people heal. Even then, I used to go to the library and study psychology. Like I would just check out books on psychology. I listened to one of my parents told me that, you're really good at computers, which I am. I taught myself how to build websites back in like 2005. So I can pick up on technology pretty easily, but it's just hard. It was hard for me to make that change. I really wish I had stuck with it, but at the same time, I took a different path. And my path toward where I'm at right now is very unique, because doing the psychic work, I'm doing this and that, and I might still end up coming in through psychology. I think I want to be, I want more people to understand the mind body connection. I want more people to feel comfortable with understanding spiritual metaphysics and psychology. Like it's not all that. So I guess I'm on the right path. I just took a little detour. That's the only thing.
Great. Well, and the second last question. Can you tell us one thing about yourself that most people aren't aware of?
I don't know. I do have quite a few things. I love weird reality shows. I don't like the catty ones like Atlanta Housewives and all the other housewives shows, but I like ones like on Netflix, like The Ultimatum. I was watching the one about the South Africa ultimatum. Love is Blind. I did watch the one in Brazil, not all of it, but I should probably write an article about the differences between the one in Brazil and the one in the United States, because the lady who was most in love was something they won't show on in the United States. Like she was a single mother, she was overweight compared to what they say in the United States. She was disabled, and she found the love of her life quick. So I like stuff like that because they're kind of experiment. These are kind of things that I think I like, social experiments that aren't harmful to people, like social experiments that people are aware of. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. Because I like shows like that. I like also listening to what other people's opinions about things like that. You know what I'm saying? Hearing what other people think with regard to it's not going to sway my opinion. It's not going to change how I feel, but I do find it interesting to understand other people's perspective.
I would say, it tells me you are a Gemini, and I have near Gemini. He is near me. He's my father. And he also loves reality shows. So when you talked, I remembered him. He loves watching reality shows and soap operas. It's really...
Well, I don't get into those too much because I just don't. So they're not bad. But sometimes I feel like I wish I was the writer.
Oh, interesting. You're right. So it's natural.
Yeah, I think I do have some fiction that I've never released before. So I mainly write nonfiction, but I do have some fiction that I would love to release.
Great. Well, the last question has to do with it. Future projects. What upcoming projects or goals do you have that you are particularly excited about?
There's something I don't want to say, but writing wise, I do have a nonfiction book coming up on healing.
Cool.
It's not poetry. It might be a poem or two thrown in there, but it's more along the lines of the different levels of healing, especially from generational healing. So right now I'm like in the town or city that I was born in. I have a lot of family here. So it's been a very interesting time to face a lot of things with regard to generational healing, like things that have impacted my mother, impacted my grandmother, and learning more about her mother and all the people that are connected in between. So it's heavy, but at the same time, it's not meant to be heavy for people. It's meant to, again, another self reflection or help us, not feel alone type vibe.
That's great. Well, I'm going to look for your next steps then. I like to read this kind of books, mystical and psychological. I really enjoy. So
Yeah,
the
thank you.
bonus, the bonus question, I swear, it's really quick. DKLA's doors are always open to you. Would you come back if you could?
Yes, of course I would. I would love to. I would love to. As a matter of fact, let me tell you what I would like to do. I would love to come down there and record. How about that? I need to come to Brazil.
Great.
I've been wanting to come to Brazil for so long. So many reasons. It's culture and things that I want to see, like sites. I've kind of been studying Brazil's history for a long time. On the low, not a lot, but on the low. Because when I lived in Atlanta, there were so many Brazilian people that came and they just set up businesses, they set up the restaurants, they set up like spas and things like that. And it's fascinating to me. And then I learned about the history of it and the struggles that people go through in Brazil. And then I know a young lady who, like, when the elections was going on, she was talking about what it was like to be Brazilian, and she considers herself white, but her grandmother was black, and she seemed kind of racist. So that she was saying because she was against.
Many origins. Yeah. Yeah, we have many origins. It's common
Yeah.
here. But I would say something I bring from my culture is this capacity of making something from scratch.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
few
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, I kind of, well, here's something people don't know. I love to study the diaspora, like all the people that came from Africa and they got put in the United States, the Caribbean, Brazil, and other places in South America, and like how we are all very similar and very different. I kind of study that type of thing on the low. So I love that. If I could have my way, I would make a documentary about that. I go to every country and see show the differences and the similarities. Yeah.
It's the mission of my podcast to meet people from many corners of the world. And the motto of this podcast, sorry, is inspire and engage. And I think this conversation reached this goal for real.
Oh, thank you so much.
I wish you the best with your projects, and I wish you a very lighty, enlightened day. And well, come back one day if you want, and if you meet me in person.
Yeah. If I
Well,
make it to Brazil, I will reach out and say, I'm here.
well, you will feel more than welcome, I'm sure.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
So, see you next time.
All right, next time.
And that's a wrap on this mystical journey through luck, intuition, and transformation. Aether Candace reminded us that sometimes the best lucky charm is trusting the process and embracing the magic within. Whether it's rituals, metaphysical tools, or the serendipity of meeting the right people at the right time, there's always a force at work. Call it luck, fate, or just a Gemini in action. You know they always have a trick up their sleeve. Be sure to check out Aether's book, Everything But a Smile in Trials and Tribulations of a Healing Heart, for a dose of poetry, wisdom, and emotional healing. And as always, if you loved this episode, subscribe, share, and let the universe or the algorithm know we exist by giving 5. Stay rebellious, stay intuitive, and I'll see you next time on Digitally Pirate Radio. See you, like I mean.